can be food. There are many opportunities in our northern region to grow food and crops for domestic use and for export to the growing markets of nearby Asia. It should be remembered that the export destinations of Indonesia, Singapore and Malaysia are geographically closer to Western Australia's port towns of Broome and Derby than to Melbourne and Sydney. Those senators who know the Fitzroy Basin area will be aware that there is significant potential for an agriculture and horticulture industry being developed in the Fitzroy Basin. I am also very supportive of the need to move forward with the development of the Ord River Stage 2 project, which has been bogged down by the bureaucracy at both a state and national level. It is imperative that the Northern Australian Task Force, which was established by the previous Liberal government, acts with haste in its research studies into opportunities in the northwest of Western Australia. If we consult with and invest greater decision-making powers in the local people and in industry in the northwest, we will reap the economic and environmental rewards through industrial and agricultural sustainability, coupled with diverse employment opportunities. Prior to the 1993 state election in Western Australia, the Honourable Richard Court outlined his vision. This included a gas pipeline to be built from Karratha to Kalgoorlie along a route that would provide users access to our natural gas supplies. Many at the time were sceptical, but within a short time after Richard Court was elected Premier, the pipeline was built by private enterprise, and it continues to be operated by private enterprise today. I foresee in the future a gas pipeline linking the Western Australian gas fields with the eastern states. With global oil prices now around $117 per barrel, I also foresee the potential for clean coal technology and coal-to-liquids operations in Australia, although I acknowledge the first of these plants may be on the east coast. Mr President, unlike some who see nothing but doom and gloom consequent upon the constant changes occurring in our global natural environment, I recognise that the elements that affect our global climatic conditions are complex, and over the millennia of time, our global climate has changed and will continue to change. It is my view that for Australia to succeed in the challenges inherent in the issues relating to climate change, we must first recognise that it is a global problem and as such will need to be addressed at a global level. Whilst it may give some people a warm inner feeling for Australia to go it alone in its response to climate change, a unitary approach will not succeed and is likely to place Australia at significant economic disadvantage in comparison to its competitors in the global economic market. Given that Australia, with 0.32% of the global population, contributes only about 1.43% of total global carbon emissions, the most realistic and beneficial approach for Australia in seeking a global solution is to actively engage the major global polluters such as China, India and the United States to significantly reduce their own carbon emissions, while at the same time focusing on developing clean fuel technologies which result in lower emissions and which can be exported worldwide. In future years, when I look back at my time in the Australian Senate, I hope to be able to say that I contributed to developing and implementing policy that has ensured that the state of Western Australia, and consequently the nation, is a stronger and more prosperous place than it was when I first commenced here. Responsible and ultimately successful societies methodically plan for and build strategic infrastructure for the long-term benefit of their citizens. My challenge, and indeed our challenge as representatives of the people of the states and territories of Australia, is to ensure that we have the courage to make the right decisions and, where necessary, the tough decisions, not only for the short term, but also for the long-term social, economic and environmental benefit for all Australians. Mr President, It was said by the Reverend Theodore Hesburgh, President Emeritus of the University of Notre Dame in the United States, the very essence of leadership is that you have to have vision. You can't blow an uncertain trumpet. And this is so true of one of the greatest political contributors in my state's history, former Premier Sir Charles Court. A true visionary, Sir Charles was the person who laid the foundations for Western Australia's resources boom, the benefits and rewards of which the nation is reaping today. In the 1950s, when Sir Charles Court entered Western Australian politics, we were a mendicant state with a small population. However, what we did have were huge repositories of natural resources. Sir Charles recognised the potential in these resources. Over the next 2 decades, he made tough political decisions, decisions that he saw as being necessary if the state of Western Australia was to become the economic powerhouse that he envisaged it could, and indeed has become. Sir Charles was a man of action and did not let anything stand in his way, literally. To quote from his obituary in the Australian newspaper on Monday the 24th of December 2007, when, as Minister for Industrial Development, he led a group of Japanese industrialists to his office, only to find it locked, he smashed the glass door and turned to his startled guests with the explanation, "We don't let anything stand in our way in this state." And this, Mr President, is the optimism and sense of resolute purpose that is still required to this very day of the people's representatives. Mr President, I am proud to reflect upon the fact that those attributes were a hallmark of my great-grandfather, Samuel John Cash, who was recognised in Western Australian history as a person who contributed in a significant way to the mining industry. He is our foundation inductee of the Australian Prospectors and Mining Hall of Fame, located in Kalgoorlie. Sam Cash was a prospector whose own gold loaming methods earned him the title the Prince of Loamers. His contemporaries have credited him with discovering over 100 gold mines, with the pinnacle of his career being the discovery of the Barbara mine on the Hampton Plains, southeast of Coolgardie, which he later sold to the then Western Mining Corporation. He is the author of Loaming for Gold, which has been read by many prospectors and has been responsible for the discovery of untold wealth by exponents of the loaming system. There are so many supporters in Western Australia to whom I owe a debt of gratitude and thanks. I cannot mention them all, but must acknowledge just a few. I thank the members of the Western Australian Liberal Party for their encouragement and support. I thank those members of the party, as well as many other friends who are here today in the gallery with me. I undertake to be a tireless and effective campaigner for the Liberal cause and your voice in Canberra, advocating the advancement of the interests of Western Australia and the regions which make up our great state. To my home division, the Moore division of the Liberal Party, in particular its President, Councillor Ian Goodenough, and his family. Your support and friendship is valued and always appreciated. To my staff, who in the very busy first few months of work have performed above and beyond the call of duty, thank you. To Senator Matthias Cormann, my colleague and friend, the advice you have given me since my election has been invaluable, and I thank you. To my parents, Ursula and George, I thank you for the support and guidance that you have given me during my life. You have, leading by example, instilled in your 4 children a strong work ethic. You taught us that life is not easy. To achieve, you must work hard. To achieve more, you must simply work harder. And that lesson will serve me well in this place. Finally, to my amazing husband, Richard Price, my sisters Melinda and Joanna, my brother Andrew, and my 8-year-old niece Alicia, who is here today in the gallery. Your love and support have been my strength and motivation in my political pursuits over the years, and I record my gratitude to you. I am forever grateful that you are here today sharing this occasion with me. Mr President, I would like to conclude with two quotations that I believe will be relevant to my role as a senator. The first is again from the Reverend Hesburgh. He said, "My basic principle is that you don't make decisions because they are easy. You don't make them because they are cheap. You don't make them because they are popular. You make them because they are right." And the second quote is a simple one from another Reverend, the Reverend Jesse Jackson. "Never look down on anybody unless you are helping them up." I thank the honourable senators and I thank you, Mr President.
That's the benchmark. But you don't have to talk about...
It's never like the other.